this feeling, baby, we're invincible.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Notts County, the analysis days. So, I'm recording this literally seconds after we finished the last episode, so that's still fresh in the mind. It's obviously very, very disappointing, but I feel like I actually don't mind. Sometimes having a bit of a setback in one of these saves is a bit nice. It reminds you of where we've got to. And I like the slower build, and I think that it's a bit better. Weirdly, we had such an easy time of it in the lower divisions that it's made this feel a lot more. The struggle is real, and I really like that. And I hope that that's coming across in the videos too. My frustration is there, of course, but I'm really enjoying the struggle. The struggle bus it's nice to be on it, to be honest. And I hope you guys are enjoying that as well. So, we're going to get into sort of how things have gone. Marvin Suarez, of course, I'm happy with the guy. I love the guy. He's probably our best goalkeeper, and he is going pissing nowhere. He's wanted by teams, but I am not letting this guy go. Well, not unless I have no choice in the matter, but easily the best player in the squad, and that is delightful. El Hadji Silla. Now, he's played less this season, but he's done okay when he's played. He's scored some goals, scored some important goals as well. So still massively happy with the lad. He's worth a huge amount of money. Maybe get him on a new contract in the summer. It might end up pushing his funds up a little bit, but that's fine. That's fine. Happy with him. Costel Troffin, of course, has been out on loan at Cardiff. 4 goals in 5 starts. Obviously 10 substitute appearances, but he scored some goals for Cardiff City, which isn't the end of the world. His record for them is actually better in front of goal than it has been for us. He'll be back next year, and I'm sure we'll find a place for him around the squad. He's still got a long time left on his contract as well. Alberto. I love the guy. Couple of goals, couple of assists. He's done really, really well for us in the Europa League. 2 goals and 3 assists in Europe, but none in the Premier League. But at the end of the day, I just think he's an excellent left back, and he'll be comfortably our left back next year. I'm not in any danger of that. Anatoly Andriashenko, he scored that excellent goal in the Europa League, his first ever for the club, and he's done a pretty solid job when he's been called upon in the Europa League, but not in the league, as is very evident here. We'll have a look at that properly in the stats. Paulo Asman, his first full season for the club. I'll be interested to see what his stats actually look like when we compare him a little bit more. 2 goals and 5 assists isn't the end of the world, actually. So I'm fairly pleased with him, but he's still a good, solid member of the team in the midfield, and I'm all right with that. Celso, of course, big, towering centre-back. 1 goal. He's got 6 goals and 2 assists in all competitions. Very, very solid man. I am a huge fan of this guy. I see him going nowhere. The reason I want to sign Nikolai Jespersen is so we've got 3 really strong centre-backs, and I'm going to go straight after him. In fact, I might even go after him in this video, to be honest, because they're already relegated now. Lamja Chitiu, as much as some of you guys don't like this guy, I still really think he actually puts in a hell of a shift from the defensive standpoint, and we do look very tidy at the back when he's playing, particularly as he can play on either foot. Now, he's now considered a wonder kid. Was he considered that before? I don't know. Point is, I like the guy. So there is that. Jalal Dobali, of course, hasn't really played a great deal for us yet. So still young, still a long way to go. But it's Matt on Tinder again. But his height, not great there. Alan Drina, very, very highly rated for us once. Hasn't featured at all this season. In fact, he's been on loan at Shirotsky Bridjik. So that would explain why. Remy Dubois has had a bit of a renaissance after being out for so long, and he's sort of displaced Silla somewhat this year, and you can kind of understand why. 3 goals, 6 assists this year, but he's continually put in phenomenal performances, particularly over the second half of the year. I've seen a lot out of this guy that makes me think, yeah, he is a very, very good player, and he won't be going anywhere if I can help it. David Ferguson, I feel like he will leave in the summer, and if we can get some nice money for him, that would be ideal. He's on loan at Malmö for the rest of this season, so when is he actually coming back? So that concerns me. But we might be able to sell him anyway. Not sure how that will really work. Hugo Fernandez, for his first season at the club, I think he's done okay, but he really does lack in a lot of areas. But he may have the potential to just get better and better and better, and I'm all right with that, so it's not the end of the world. I am now scouting a lot of the youth intakes again, like I was before. I went through a few years of just looking at the national teams. I've decided that we've got enough scouts that I'm going to bunk that off and actually go after them. I found a French striker from Metz called Jeff Lucas. He's more of a target man type of player, but he's rated very, very highly by my scouts, and he has 20 heading, which is kind of interesting because I think he's only like 5'11". So interesting. Particularly if we could get him on the cheap, I'd be interested in that. Scott Fuster's been out on loan again, this time at Forest Green, actually helping them what could potentially be promotion to the championship, which would be quite something. Adrian Gajic, he did just ask me for a new contract. I'm not giving it to him because I put in a reasonable deal where he would get an international clause that would boost his wage to like £13,000. I was going to give him 4k up front. I said, there you go. And he wanted like 15 up front with more. And I'm like, I'm not giving you that as a backup goalkeeper, you bellend. This guy's just on loan. On trial. He's crap. Ricky Griffiths, though? Like, he's going to be... Oh, no, his contract expires at the end. Oh, okay, so hang on. Oh no, it doesn't expire. Sorry, what we're talking about. He's got a new contract which doesn't start till the end of the season. So don't worry, Griff will still be here next year. Still only 24, amazingly. Hopefully Forest get promoted so we can play Griff against them and he can embarrass them again. Obviously, Jose Lelsonguera, big fan of the guy. 17 goals in the Premier League, 11 assists. He really did tail off on the assists, though. I don't know what happened there. Didn't have the best second half of the year, but still massively pleased with his performances for us so far. 20 goals and 16 assists in 45, so 36 goal contributions in 45 matches. I can't really ask for much more from our striker than that, and I'm more than happy to say that he's done a phenomenal job this year, and I think he's only going to get better. That's the main factor for me. Although he didn't really improve that much over his Pepo. Solskjaer Hansen, he's wanted by Leeds. I'm hoping, beyond hope, that they put a bid in for him. Don't know what the bid will be, but I just want to get rid because that will save us loads of money on transfer on that, and we'd probably get some money in the transfer fee as well. I mean, the fact that he's played 60 games for us and scored twice. Jean Carlos. The fact is, 1 goal and 3 assists this year has not exactly impressed me, and I do wonder if the attacking midfield role is not the best one for this tactic, and maybe we can find something else that really will get the best out of him. I'm not really sure what that could be yet, but I want that to be something, because he's kind of tailed off towards the end of the season, albeit he did have that broken foot, so that could have definitely been a factor. But I think there is definitely more to come from him. He's certainly not going to be going anywhere, that is for sure. Oleg Kazhikov will be going somewhere. He's joining Akhmat at the end of the season, so we're definitely going to have to look after left backs, that is for sure. Sean Lancaster, obviously, he's not many Premier League starts, but he's still improving day by day, doing a reasonably solid job. And I'm all right with that. He's just a good player. He's never going to be a first-team choice for us, though. That's the problem for him. Darren Lever, obviously, he's played a decent amount of games this year, but mostly off the bench once again. So he's still getting lots of game time and improving nicely. He's got a new contract, so he's fine. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm still working on getting him to improve his... it keeps coming up and then it will go away, which I believe is step by step. So we're getting him to work on that left foot. He's still only 19 though, so he's still an excellent player and he's considered a wonder kid, so I can't really fault him there. Eamon Loetti, his contract is up at the end of the season, and I'm concerned that if I try to offer him a new one, he'll probably want an awful lot of money, but I may well try it. We'll have to see, just so that we've got some more backup in that left back spot. McGuigan, his contract is not up till next summer, actually, so he is still here, amazingly, for another season. He's been at Scunthorpe for 5 years now and doing solid jobs, but not this year. Gonzalo Moya, of course, is just he's a very rare player to be playing, and I think I might sell him in the summer if I get the chance to be honest. Issa and Pepo. The guy's got 6 goals and 5 assists this year. In the Europa League, he's got 3 and 2, and he's got a couple in the league as well. He's done just fine. But if someone was to come in and put a bid, because look at his value at £34 million. I would be very, very tempted to sell this guy if the right bid came in. Then I would be up for putting that deal on the table because we could reinvest that into so many different areas. So I'd be right with that. Nicholas Nielsen, he's wanted by, was it Brentford, I think? They want to pay £9 million. I do wonder if that's something we should do, but I'm also not entirely sure about that because we only have Rodea as a backup. Martin Payton, I cannot believe this guy is still here. His contract expires very, very soon, so don't worry, he'll be out of here soon. Bratislav Pavlovic is a similar story. He's on loan at Proletar Novi Sad as well over in bloody hell. I remember the 1 goal he scored for us in the league. I thought he'd be the next best thing, but he wasn't. Gael Perrier, obviously, still happy with his performance this year. 9 goals in all competitions, 4 of which were in the Europa League. That is truly exceptional. I can't fault the guy. He's got 12 goals in the league for us and 104 appearances. I really do like this guy as a centre-back. I think he's been an excellent player for us, but his contract is up at the end of next summer, so we might want to look at extending it this summer, particularly as he still hasn't got any France caps, so we might be able to leverage that an international wage clause to just keep things reasonable. I love that he's considering moving to a bigger club. Mate, you're doing fine, but let's not get too big for your boots here, eh, buddy? Even Petkov, particularly if I'm going to go after Nikolai Jespersen, because I am absolutely going to go after Nikolai Jespersen. Petkov is leaving this summer. That's fine. I think we've got him on free anyway, so it's not a big deal there. Marcus Rodea, I think, he's done okay. Come off the bench on his debut and scored a goal for us, but most of the rest of the time, it's just been coming off the bench for us. But I think there's potential with him, and that's kind of what I'm buying with him, was potential. Dario Santana, if I think, genuinely, I'm putting this out here now, I think if he doesn't get himself sent off in that league game, I think we get into the Europa League, because I think that having him in the team would have just done enough for us to not have those issues, genuinely. But I'm pretty pleased with his performance for us this year. Like, okay, he's got 8 goals and 6 assists, which isn't perfect for us, I've got to admit, but it's definitely a decent enough record. It's certainly one of the best performances we've had from someone playing on that left-hand side, so that's for sure. Amada Senya obviously started that one game earlier this year. He's never quite really achieved anything, but he's got a longer contract, so that's fine. Dusan Sikanic, of course, we signed a new contract for him in the summer, so he's going to be sticking around for a little while anyway. Won't be playing for us. Thomas Stepanek. My lad. He needs to sort himself out a little bit. 12 goals and 5 assists this year is good. He's really slacked off on the assists this year. He has hit a record best 10 goals this year. So he's got his highest ever Premier League goal tally of 10, which is good. But his actual creativity has dropped off. So he's only contributed to 14 goals this year, whereas last year it was 17. So he's actually on par with his first season at the club. So it's interesting, is all I'm saying. It's his second best season for us. He's got backwards a tiny little bit in the creativity, and that's definitely shown. And I do wonder though if that's due to the patch. It's made him less creative in the sense that he's actually crossing the ball even less than he was before. I've seen a lot more side netting stuff again, which is kind of frustrating. But what can you do? Right, let's move on to the league stuff. So, league stats, possession-wise, were fairly low. That's not a huge surprise there. We've scored 5 of our 7 penalties. Not too bad. Headers won, fairly mid-table. Headers won ratio, where I want it to be. We have got the most yellow cards, though, at 86. But more importantly, 7 red cards. They definitely messed with something in the patch. Because last year, I think we got 1 red card. This year, we've had 7. And I didn't change anything about the tactic. And the personnel was virtually identical. And it wasn't new players getting sent off anyway. It was the same guys. So, I think that they've made it... Yeah, I don't really know what to do about that other than perhaps try turning it off of get stuck in, but I'm worried that might affect us. So we might have to try that again now that we've got a bit more confidence in the team. But it does bug me that we've gone from that to that. And maybe if we didn't have so many suspensions, we might have done better there. Streaks are pointless because they don't tell you about the longest streaks of the season. Goals, 61. Much, much more like it. Like, joint 4th most goals in the league. Really good sign. Like, it just is. Cross completion ratio, 20%. I would like that to be higher. Cross completion, again, I swear we're normally higher on this one. Goals from corners, 9. We actually not got the most goals from corners, incredibly. Goals from direct free kicks, 2. I think we've conceded more than that. Goals from indirect free kicks, 4. So we're definitely not as reliant on set pieces, ironically, as I thought we were, really. We got, 5 penalties, so that takes it to 14. We've got 2 direct free kicks, which is 16. And then, it's still 20 goals, to be fair. That's still like 33%, so fair enough. Pass completion is not great. Passes completed is always fairly low. Chances created, though, second most in the league. And this is what I'm saying. We're still creating top 4 chances. But we just cannot seem to put the bastards away. Shot on target ratio is fairly solid as well. We're not having as many shots on target overall, though, interestingly, which is maybe a problem. Conversion rate is still good, though. Fouls against, not too bad. Dribbles per game, we're top of the pops on that one. So we've got the joint 4th best attack and the 5th best defence in the league, and somehow we've managed to come 7th with that. That feels a little bit anomalous, to be honest. Most seasons, generally speaking, we generally seem to finish on average. The average between our conceded number of goals statistic and the number we score, generally speaking, is the position we finish. So this year, you'd argue that we should be finishing 4th or 5th, really. But hey, that's just how things go sometimes. Maybe it's just been a bit of an unfortunate season. Team goals conceded from corners, only 3. That's pretty good. And we would have had the best had it not been for that final game of the season against Bournemouth. Burnley and Villa, though, not so good. Direct free kicks, though, 2, and it's indirects where we usually struggle badly, 7. Though it has been better than last year. Clean sheets, 21. Like, from a conceding standpoint, we've conceded an average of a goal a game, which is much, much better than it's been in recent seasons. And frankly, remember, we conceded 6 in our final 2 matches. We were right in there with basically all of those teams in the top 4. And that's a good sign for me. I think there's a lot of positives to be taken this year, and I think we've maybe just got a little unfortunate that we didn't qualify for Europe this year, because 7th place is usually good enough to get you into Europe, and if it wasn't for the FA Cup situation, we would have done. So I think that maybe we've been a bit harsh on ourselves there, and maybe it's just an unfortunate turn of events that's cost us being in Europe next year. But again, it does give me confidence that next year we can really have a crack at getting into the Champions League and bypassing the Europa League entirely, although I was kind of excited about the prospect of playing in EC2. That would have been kind of fun, because I think we would have been massive favourites and it would have just been a free-for-all. So that could have been interesting. Let's have a look at player detail now, see if there's any standouts that we can maybe go after. So games 1, this is all kind of... Celso got 17 yellow cards. 17! Jespersen's in there, so that's interesting. So who went down? It was Wolves, Burnley, and Leeds. So those are the teams we need... Oh, hang on, did Wolves go down? I didn't actually even check that. Yes, they did. Okay, so interesting. I don't think Wolves are going to have that many players that we can go after, but nevertheless, we're going to have a little look. Red cards. Jean Carlos, no one player of ours got sent off more than once, yet 7 players managed to get red cards. Guys, sort your shit out. Guerra did manage to get 4 man of the match, and Stepanek did still get 4 man of the match awards. I've got to say, like, that's fair enough. Alex Guerrero got some... Oh, oofy. I wonder. I freaking wonder. £14 million value. He got 4 Man of the Match awards. Sure, he only got 4 goals. Yeah, we'll be getting a scout report on him, I say. Just because he's standing out there to me. Because, yeah, let's face it, he's playing for a relegated side and yet got in the top 20 of Man of the Match awards. Interesting. Distance covered. Henry Smith certainly got to cover a lot of distance there. And there's quite a lot of players in here. So Wagway was obviously top of this. The Manchester United guy. He is a very, very good player. No mistake about that. Alfie McCalmont, of course, he's still a brilliant player, but his wages would be too high. He's quite old, and I'm not a huge fan of bringing that kind of player in. But average rating as well. Guerra up there. And Gael Perrier too. 17th best. Pretty damn good. Headers 1 overall. So Farshad this old minivan, it was a guy I was after before, is up on that list as well. Edilson Rodriguez too, 25-year-old Portuguese centre-back, 6'4". Like, these are all players I'd be potentially interested in. Just so, I mean, what about this guy? I assume he's a centre-back as well. Yeah, Farshad minivan. He's not got the best heading, and I just think that he... I don't know. What I'm probably going to do is actually scout all of them, because there might be some relegation release clauses in some of these guys, and that might enable us to go after them just out of interest, because we might be able to get some crazy good deals. Obviously, I tend to go after centre-backs with doing this, but there we go. So goals per 90 minutes. Harry Kane up there. Guerra still pretty good, just not quite as good as perhaps I would have liked. Tahith Chong for Leeds as well. Nice to see him up there too. Shots Esposito was flying there. So yeah, Guerra didn't have that many shots, interestingly. So he's got a decent record there. Shots on target as well. Stepanek had more shots on target than he did. His percentage, Gael Perrier, of course, which means his conversion rate is actually pretty good at 20%. If we could get him more chances, I think we'd actually score more goals. I think that might have been what's dried up, actually, is his chances rather than his shots himself. Penalties, 3 out of 4, not too bad. Assists, he was leading this way comfortably, but just wasn't quite good enough. 31-year-old Harry Wilson in there as well. Any relegated teams with players on there other than Harry Wilson, he would cost too much. Key passes, yeah, Arthur. Adrian Fine as well of Burnley. Alfie McCalmont, no surprises there. Any other ones from the clubs that were relegated? No. But it's good to see Remy Dubois up there as well with 84. Like, that's a good amount. Chances created, Guerra with 19. Again, really good. Harry Wilson created a great load of chances. How did Wolves get relegated? Like, genuinely, how did they get relegated? Pass completion. This one is generally goalkeepers. There's a lot of them on here. Cross completion ratio. Again, it includes the wrong players. Dribbles for 90 minutes. So Stepanek's not been as good as he was last year, but he's still been really, really good, to be fair. Troy Parrott of Manchester United is offside an awful lot. Tackles per 90 minutes. Oh, look at that. Hugo Fernandez and Lamjad Chitiu right in there. So they've done brilliant jobs when they've been called upon. And that's a good sign for me. Anyone here? Ian Martson. Alejandro Pires. He's a right back, 6'1", solid tackling. Okay, Uruguayan. Might be another one that we could have a look at as well from Leeds. I like to sort of keep my oar in. Notice how Nikolai Jespersen hasn't been mentioned yet. That does concern me a little bit. We've got no players on this one, which is a good sign. Mistakes, Ryan Sessegnon. Santana's made well, that's a lot of mistakes. Key tackles. Kufre in there. Any more? Coney De Winter, of course, yeah. No. That's interesting. So what? 27. But then again, Gael Perrier at 26 is still phenomenal. No Celso. He's normally for the older headers. That's generally his... No, he's actually worse on that one as well. So anyone on here? Minivan, not too bad. Has Jespersen just not played for Leeds enough this season? Has he had an injury perhaps that's led him to not being on this? Minivan again. Edilson Rodriguez again. Ah, there he is. Nikolai Jespersen. How many games has he played for Leeds? So 34. Not at the best rating, to be honest. Tackling, marking, heading, 6'2". Like, he's still bloody excellent, though, isn't he? Like, not being funny, but I know for a fact this guy has got a £24 million release clause. Like, that's really, really good. 24 million for this would be, I'd say, a pretty good deal. And I want to see what those other guys are like, but I feel like he'd be a good addition. The wages is a bit of a concern, though, but we might be able to negotiate something there. I don't know. Anything else that's really on here? Shots blocked. Anyone surprising me on that one too? Not really. Conceded as well. Marvin Suarez, 32. It's not bad. It's pretty damn good, to be honest. Right, let's get on to the actual player analysis now. So once again, we've gone through another season where Celso and Perrier have basically not missed any games due to the fact that the only ones they've missed, I think, have been through suspension rather than injury, which is actually very, very good. So Andriy Shevchenko's played a little bit and Jabali's played a little bit. I don't think they're going to be able to come anywhere near these guys, but we'll see. So Jabali, we don't concede a lot of goals with him in the team. It's maybe a bit of a small sample size, but nevertheless, it's interesting. Andriushenko, though, quite high. Interceptions, though, Celso and Perrier definitely out in front. They're both over 3. These guys can't even compete with that yet. Tackles 1 ratio, though, 90% is pretty solid. And his tackles 1 numbers are actually pretty good. They're up there with Perrier's type of numbers, but his pass completion is very much lacking. These two definitely do have slightly better passing as well. From a key pass perspective, once again, though, Jabali's got a little bit about him on that side of things. But the main issue, really, is the headers. They are so much worse in the air than these two, and they're winning way less headers in general. Dribbles are irrelevant. They've got a few assists themselves, created a few chances. We score more goals with Andriushenko in the team, but it does seem like it's worse overall. Like, you can see that the percentage of points won with Perrier and Celso is very clear. I think I do want to sign another centre-back in the summer, though, because I don't trust the fact that... Wow, he's a mercenary now. I swear he wasn't before. I think he must have picked that up when he was out on loan at Inter Miami. I don't trust the idea that we're somehow going to get through another season with only these two, and I think Gabriel Perrier might just be flagging slightly on his potential, so I do want to sign another centre-back. Now, my best bet is it's going to be one of the guys that we've just looked at from Leeds, Wolves or Burnley. One of those 3 teams I think we're going to get a player from. My concern is that I don't think the players from Wolves are going to have relegation release clauses, and as a result, I think their ones will probably be a bit out of the range, or Wolves have done a silly and potentially given them really low relegation release clauses. Like, for example, I give our players really low relegation release clauses in their contracts because I'm fairly confident now that we're not going to get relegated in this save because I understand how FM works. But AI teams don't really have that security. So, maybe, just maybe, some of those Wolves players might have insanely low relegation release clauses. We could snap maybe even 2 of them up and then use that money on wages, because I don't know how much we're actually going to get yet because we haven't even got that far. I'm literally on the same day as the last episode you would have watched. So, honestly, I think we need to, again, I'm scouting loads of youngsters and I'm going to try and bring some of those guys in, but I'm just going to try and get the pick of the bunch with those guys now. And that might take me all season next year to scout through like the 10,000 players that have been generated this year, because we still have a lot of scouts, but it still takes a while. So I think that might be a long-term job for us, but I do want to concentrate a lot of money onto a few key positions. And I think that not a lot of money, particularly if it only cost us 24 million to sign Nikolai Jespersen, then I absolutely will do that. But because it's a release clause, it will need to be all up front as far as I know. So that could deplete the budget somewhat depending on how much the board give me. Particularly with us not getting into Europe next year, the budget's probably not going to be as high as it maybe would have been had we got into even EC2. So that's definitely something to think about. I think a new centre-back is paramount just to give us a bit more stability in this role. And maybe we could have done with that this year. But then, that being said, they played almost every game without a few exceptions through the suspension. So, not the end of the world. It's fullbacks where I'm very interested in at the moment. Very, very interested. So, when it comes to fullbacks, Chitiu and Fernandez have played a relatively large amount of games themselves. So, Fernandez, we can definitely have a look at his stats. Kazhikov, it doesn't really matter because he's leaving anyway, which is very much important for me to sign. A left back is a very important position. Not as a first choice, but as a backup to Alberto. I'm totally content with him being the first choice this season. No surprises there. So distance covered. Fernandez definitely covers more ground than Chitiu, which doesn't surprise me because he is more athletic. So that's a good sign. From a defensive standpoint, though, you can see that we are much worse with Fernandez in the team. Not much worse, but enough to the point where I'm noticing it. His interceptions, he's just not as good at the defensive side of the game. He lacks that aerial threat too, which really does make a difference. Wins a decent number of tackles, but not anywhere near the same amount as Lamjo Chitiu. Like, that's just unavoidable how much worse he's than those two. From a key part, again, he's actually less creative too, which is very interesting. He's worse in the air. He dribbles more. And his cross-completion ratio is definitely better than Chitiu, but it's not like so much so that it makes a difference to the point where he's actually got less assists and creates way less chances per 90 minutes. We do score more goals with him in the team, though, because I think he does make us a little bit more of an attacking threat, and we do win ever so slightly more points with him in the team, which does make me think that when he gets to the point, because he's only 20, then again, so is Chitiu, I think he might end up overtaking Chitiu at some point, but only when we've reached the point where it doesn't matter so much if he's not the best defensive player, because we'll be pressing teams back so much that his defensive frailties won't be exposed as much. So I think it's important to hang on to Hugo Fernandez, and I'm quite content to start next season with Chitiu and Fernandez on the right-hand side. My main concern is that Alberto, we have no backup to him, and he did get some tired patches this year. Like, he's still phenomenal, and long may it continue with him in this squad, but left-back is very, very crucial, because Kazhikov is leaving. We've got Luetti, who I don't really... if I could get him on a really cheap new contract, I might do, but my concern is that he won't allow that, and as a result, I will be forced to let him go too, because I'm not going to give him like 50 grand a week to be a backup. Not when Alberto, I don't even think, is on that kind of money. What is he on? Oh, no, he's on way more than that, but you get my point. I don't want to be spending too much on a backup player. But if I can bring in a young backup player that we have to give a bit of extra money, but I feel like there's potential for him to maybe overtake Alberto in future, then fine. But I don't want to be spending that. Yeah. So I think backup left back, but like a good quality one with reasonable potential is definitely important right now. Right back spot, fairly happy with the way things have turned out there. But yeah, I think Hugo Fernandez is going to get better, but he's not there yet. That's the way I'm looking at it. And I think next year he might get more chance. I'll play him in all the cup matches and he'll get more chance rotating around, because I think these two can definitely rotate around each other, which is definitely a positive sign for me. So that's okay. Let's look at central midfielders. Very important position, this one. So we've actually only have 3 players play here. Now, it's important to bear in mind, Asman did, in fact, where is it? It's on development, play some games as an attacking mid. And he actually played ever so slightly better there. And he has just got the... tries killer balls often. So I wonder if that will help him in some way. So we've got to bear that in mind. So generally speaking, he would have played as the Metsala. Dubois would almost always play as the deep line playmaker, and sometimes Silla would play in both positions. So yeah, but it's worth noting that Silla and Dubois have both outperformed Asman in terms of their average ratings overall. But Silla's not had any man of the match awards, but when he's played, he's done a really solid job in general. So from a defensive standpoint, they are better than him. Like, we can see less goals because I mean, look at that. You can see they're intercepting the ball more. He's not doing as much defensive work. So there's definitely that. Though he does still win a decent number of tackles, and it's pretty solid. His pass completion is just fine. But I feel like this stat has been dragged down by the fact that both Silla and Asman would have played predominantly in the Metsala role rather than Dubois. So it makes sense for them to have less key passes. But this is what I mean, right? Dubois, 2.77 key passes per game. This guy is putting up Regan Booty numbers now, and I think it's fair to say that he's reclaimed that role as our number 1 deep line playmaker. Because this season, he's shown that quality. Like, Silla's still done a very, very good job for us this year. It has to be said. But that kind of key pass return is phenomenal. And it really does an excellent job. Silla's still phenomenal in that role. And he is a bit younger, which means he could potentially overtake him one day. But I don't think he's there yet. Silla's main play is definitely going to become from rotating around, playing as the Metsala often, and he's definitely generated some goals from that position this year, so I've got to give him credit there. Excellent in the air as well. Dribbles are not too bad either. Assists, they've all done relatively well on assists. Chance creation, Dubois with the highest. We score more goals, though, with Silla in the team. Interesting. And he's got our best goal return himself, because he scored 4 in... does this only take into account league games? I swear he's got 6 goals. Or is it because it doesn't take into account Europe? Oh, no, 4. What am I talking about? Why did I think he had 6? Who was I thinking of? Oh, no. I don't know who I was thinking of. It was Danny of Manchester City who scored 2 of his 6 goals against us. Anyway, moving on from that. Points per game. These two, generally speaking, seem to outperform Asman just that little tiny bit. But he's a useful player to have around. And I think having these 3 in the midfield is still a very, very good sign for us. And I don't really feel the need to change things up just yet. There's a solid amount of potential there. They're all still young, all still learning, getting to grips. And I really don't want to break up these partnerships before I have to. So I'm actually fairly content with our midfield 3. Because Asman can play in any of those positions. We've got room to rotate these guys around when one of them's tired. If we pick up an injury, we can still step in and do solid work. And none of them are complaining about, like, the amount of playing time they're getting, because they're all getting like close to 3,000 plus minutes a season. So that's fine. I'm pretty pleased with those guys. I don't really think we need a lot of improvement in that midfield currently. And again, looking for young players, sure, that could potentially come through, but I'm not going to break the bank to sign some amazing player in these roles, because I think we're actually doing pretty damn well there. But I am going to maybe invest some money in getting new contracts for both Dubois and Silla long term, through to like 2034 kind of contracts, so we can really tie these guys down. That way they don't no one comes after them in the summer. Or what I could do is, in fact, wait till the new season starts, then get them on new contracts that don't begin until the end of the season, thus saving us a full season's worth of wages. So that's quite an important factor you can try as well. So that's something we can definitely do. I'm totally happy with the midfield 3. I really like our midfield, and I don't see any plans to change it next season. It's going to be these 3 in some kind of formation, really. So with that in mind, I want to look at the attacking mids next, because I think that's a real problem area for us. Now, there's been limited game time for Sonja Hansen, sure, but I just want to see what he's contributed when he has actually played, because maybe I've undervalued him. I don't think so somehow. I just want to hope that John Carlos has actually outperformed Ricky Griffiths. That's all I can hope for, you know? Okay, so how are we doing here? Team conceded. We've conceded less goals for Sonja Hansen in the team. That sounds about right. Oh, God. Ricky Griffiths makes more tackles. His pass completion is better. Key passes is ever so slightly worse, but Sancho Hansen's not bad in the air. Dribbles per game, Griffiths is definitely improving there. He makes better crosses. He's worse on the assists than Jean Carlos, but his chance creation is very, very similar. We do score more goals with him in the team, and he himself has scored more goals too. He hits his shots on target more, and we gain more points with him in the team. Something has to change about that role. Ricky Griffiths is... I just don't know. I feel like we kind of need to change that central attacking midfield role to something else. I don't think attacking midfielder is right. I don't think shadow striker is right. I want to find something that works for us. In fact, well, it's going to be Jean Carlos that plays there. So why don't we have a little look at him? So, shadow striker, advanced playmaker. Maybe have a deep lying playmaker and an advanced playmaker. Someone that could spray balls about and look for key passes a little bit more. Maybe... Because I think if he's sitting higher up, on support probably, then Dubois can, generally speaking, fire those balls in behind. But I do wonder if getting the ball to someone like Jean Carlos, slightly further up the pitch, he could play those little, like, balls into the half space from a much more advanced position. And I wonder if having an advanced playmaker sitting in that attacking midfield role wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, we could try a Trek, but I don't think that's really what we want from him. I think this is probably what we want, because they're both good for this role. And I wonder if an advanced playmaker might be our approach next year. Because again, I don't believe that we really need to sign anyone here, because Griffiths is still going to play here. Jean Carlos is obviously going to be our main man. Sancho Hansen will hopefully not be here at all. I'll look after youngsters again, that's fine. But I'm not too fussed about bringing in another guy in this role, because I actually think we've done okay. It was the right back in this role that I wanted to try and strengthen last season, and we did in the end. But I think we just need to find the right role for them. So again, at the moment so far, really, I want a centre-back just for depth reasons. I want a left-back, for backup reasons. I'm not seeing any positions in this team where I'm like, we must sign a new first-choice player. And that's a good position to be in, because we've got young players, they're growing, they're improving, and we're going to slowly tweak with the tactics to try and get the best out of them. And I'm all right with that. So honestly, I think we can move on to wingers right about now. Okay, so we can't take too much into account of Lancaster and Rodea. My point is we've got good depth in the wide areas in this team, and that's a good sign. But nobody's really performed super strongly this year. Just looking at average ratings, it's been Stepanek and Nielsen on that right-hand side, and Santana on the left, massively outperforming Darren Lever. It does still make you wonder if there's something to be said for changing the role of the left-hand side, but we've still never quite worked it. Inside forwards just don't seem to work with what I'm doing, but maybe we could try that out again. I don't want to change too much about a tactic that's got us to where we are, but I do think there's definitely some tweaks that need to be made. So distance cover per 90 minutes. Rodea's certainly got about a bit. Darren Lever, what I would say, right, is he does certainly get around a bit. The guy's got real ability to get up and down that side, and that definitely helps us for sure. But when he's in the team, we are so much worse defensively. Santana gives us such defensive strength. That is incredible. He and Stepanek have been excellent. And Nielsen's done a really solid job of filling in there. Lever, you can tell we get way worse defensively when he's in the team. I mean, he was also in the team for those final two matches where we conceded 6 goals in over those games. So that definitely has a factor. He's worse at the interceptions too. Stepanek's much better at that as well. He's fine in the tackle, but he doesn't make enough of them. Is the simple answer to that. Santana is definitely better in that. And Rodea, solid, but maybe it's over a small sample size. Key passes, interesting. Lever actually is very good at creating stuff, to be fair. As is Santana, he's not that bad. Stepanek is only just outperforming his compatriots here. Not compatriots, you know what I mean. Headers won, again, Santana is massively good there. Stepanek isn't even that bad, to be honest. He's outperforming everyone except Rodea. Dribbles per game, obviously this is Stepanek territory, but Nielsen's not far behind. Lancaster's pretty poor. Rodea is obviously poor. But Santana and Lever are okay, I guess. I suppose. Cross completion. Nielsen, 29%. My giddy aunt. Stepanek solid. Lever and Santana both tied. Nielsen, I think I want to keep him around just because the guy can cross a football. It goes without saying here. Assists per 90 minutes. Again, Nielsen is better in the assists than Stepanek. And Santana is vastly better than Darren Lever. I mean, that is a double, basically. But Lever knows how to create a chance. Nielsen again, pretty damn solid. Santana a little bit on the poor side. Goals per game, Nielsen again, slightly outperforming him. Interesting. Goals per game themselves, again, obviously Rodea is going to be the highest on that one, but Nielsen again is pretty damn solid. But from the actual starting players, once again, Santana does outperform Darren Lever. Points per game, Nielsen the highest. Santana in there, only just outperforming Lever. Rodea is the poorest. I think what it is that we're still better when we have Santana in the squad than Darren Lever, but I still think Lever is a player that could definitely go somewhere with this team. I think Stepanek and Nielsen on the right is fine. Rodea's good back up there too. I wouldn't mind, and obviously there's 4 players that could potentially play on that right-hand side that I'd be okay with. And on the left, we've got 2 solid ones, but I wouldn't mind one more. And if the money was right, going after that guy from Burnley wouldn't be the end of the world, just to really complete that trifecta, because I'd have to spend this money somewhere. And maybe getting a third guy to really back us up on that left-hand side. So we'd have 4 on the right, 3 on the left that could all play, and we'd have tons of rotation options then. That would definitely please me to no end. I'll keep working on Darren Lever to improve that left foot of his. He's getting there, and I keep putting him on the training to improve weak foot. Hopefully he'll eventually get there. He's still only 19, remember? And I think if he could improve that, that could really make a difference, because he does offer stuff for us. The guy's scored a couple of goals for us, no one compared to Santana, but he's definitely getting there. And these guys have all still got a reasonable amount of improvement to do, because none of them are older than 21. Like, they're all still young, all still got lots of room to grow, but we are going to need more out of them next year, particularly Thomas Stepanek, who's just taken a little bit of a Stepanek backwards. Whereas Santana has continued his growth for us, although it is his first full season, so you've got to give him that too. But I want to see more out of Stepanek next year. I was hoping he'd go double figures in both this year. He's managed double figures in goals, but not in assists. 12 goals in all competitions is a good return, but I would have liked to have seen double figures on assists as well. He has got more selfish, and that might explain why he's got more goals, so not entirely happy. So maybe a left-sided winger, the guy from Burnley, but again, very happy with the way this is lined up. There's lots of backups, lots of stacked players. And again, if we can find the youngsters, then sure, let's go for it. I'm going to have to sign a backup goalkeeper again because Gajic is going to be off as well. So that's fine, we can do that. So when it comes to strikers, we're really only comparing Issa and Pepo and the Son of War. Both of whom I think have done fine this season. I've genuinely been impressed with what Mpepo's done in the games that he's played. He's done what I wanted from a secondary striker, in all honesty, and I'm okay with that. So I just want to see how he's actually performed overall. So team conceded, we do concede less goals than Pepo in the team, but he's often played... No, I actually can't even criticise him for that. He's played in games, he's just played whenever I wanted him to, really. Pass completion is worse. He does make a few more key passes, and he's better in the air. We know he'd be better in the air because he is 6 foot tall. That's the one area where Guerra is nowhere near on the pace. But weirdly, Pepo is also more capable of dribbling, despite having 12 dribbling compared to 16. But it might be because Guerra has this knocks ball past opponent trait. And it might be affecting his dribbling ability. And I'm trying to get it to remove it at the moment. I think he picked it up from... mentoring, and I believe we're working on... Yeah, so he's trying to get rid of it at the moment. And I think that might have actually affected him, because I think that instead of using his dribbling ability, he's just knocking it past him, and it's getting it taken off of him too often, and that's affecting the number of dribbles he's making. So hopefully, if he can shed that PPM over the summer, that might be a factor for us. Assist-wise, very, very solid, along with Pepo. Both of these guys take corners and free kicks, which definitely helps them. And Pepo, better chance creation. We do score more goals with Guerra in the team ever so slightly, and his goal ratio is about the same, in all honesty. He hits the target a bit more, and he has less shots, but we win more points with Pepo in the team. I'd actually be quite happy to keep Pepo around, to be honest, unless there was a massive bid for him. I think having Guerra and Pepo here next season is a very good idea. Troffin will also be back too. Moya, I will try to move on. If we find another striker option, then I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him in, even if it is that guy Jeff Lucas from Metz, a 15-year-old guy. He won't be able to join us immediately anyway, but if the stats are right, then I'll definitely go after him as well. So honestly, I'm very happy with the way the squad is shaping up. I want a new backup goalkeeper. I want a new first choice centre-back that we can rotate around. I want a new backup left-back that's first-team quality. Centre midfield, again, youngsters. I want a left-sided winger just to give us a bit more option there. And maybe another striker. But honestly, I'm very happy with the way the squad is shaping up at the moment. We're in a good spot where I don't think there's any colossal weak points in the team. Not like where before there was a glaring error in the team, whereas now they're pretty stable across the board. It's just a question of tweaking here and there, slowly allowing the players to improve over the coming seasons and just adding to them and making sure they've got lots of options coming through the squad as well. We can actually now focus on starting to bring through some players rather than signing the finished products like we've been doing for the past few seasons, although I might still go after a centre-back from one of those sides and possibly that left winger from Burnley, provided there's a relegation release clause. I feel like there might be, though, because they are really, really bad. So there is that. That will hopefully allow us to do stuff like that. So let's see. What could be our word of the day? Okay, so word of the day this week is going to be Actimel, because I have a lovely probiotic yogurt thing on my desk here. So that's going to be, use that in a sentence if you can. I dare you. Yeah, so if you've enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, obviously it's going to be... transfer winner tomorrow. It's actually my birthday tomorrow, or mine and him's birthday tomorrow, in fact. Well, not in fact, but when you see the video, that will be the day of my birthday and also my girlfriend's birthday, which is a bit of a weird one when you have the exact same birthday as your girlfriend. It means you can't be like, it's my birthday though, you've got to, and it doesn't work. So, yes, yeah, drop Actimel in the comments if you got this far into the video. Use it in a sentence. If you've enjoyed the video, drop a like, that'd be awesome. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and as always, hold your gun, capybara. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.